A burgeoning York University track star's dream of going to the Olympics is in jeopardy. The 20-year-old's deportation to Jamaica is scheduled for next week after immigration officials denied his family asylum.
Tamari Lindo is one of the country's top-ranked hurdlers. He wants to sprint for a potential spot on Canada's Olympic team, but can't outrun a deportation order. 2019, Tamari arrived in Toronto with his parents and 2 younger siblings from Jamaica. They sought asylum after 3 attempts on his father's life. George Lindo was a government worker who volunteered with the opposition party to get out the vote. He's been shot at and had his neck slashed.
I remember when they were running me down, I was praying for God to just,
When we were all leaving off to go to school, me and my other siblings, they said they were going to shoot up the car with all of us in us, and it's like, I was like traumatized.
But Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada has denied the father's claim for police.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another conversation. First off, the video that you guys just watched is an old video. That was from a couple months ago, but I didn't really get a chance to talk about it at all. So I want to just talk about it a little bit. But most importantly, I want to talk about the possibility of getting deported from Canada as a permanent resident. A lot of persons always think that as soon as you become permanent resident in Canada, then the chances are you won't be deported. But I'm here to tell you guys that the possibility exists that you might still be deported from Canada even as a permanent resident under these circumstances. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. If you guys are new here, you know what to do. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed already. The Anderson's family is our name. What we do here, we share Canadian content. We share lifestyle content about ourselves being immigrants here in Canada, and we just share our own Canadian journey so that other persons can get inspiration. Other persons can know that it's possible for them too to move to Canada. And of course, we share different ways that you can move to Canada. We're not immigration consultant, lawyer, affiliates, but what we are persons who have been through the process, and we try to share it unfilteredly. So if you're interested in any of the above, subscribe, turn on that post notification bell, and stick and stay. Shout out to all our channel members as well. We really appreciate you guys. If you guys want to become a part of our channel membership, just do so by hitting that join button right down below. Greatly appreciated. Okay guys, so the video that you guys just watched or that I just played right now, I got that video off TikTok. It was a video that's been going around for a couple months now, and it shows a Jamaican family who came to Canada and they were seeking refugee status, or they were claiming asylum in Canada, and that was sadly refused. Now when you file for a refugee application or for asylum or refugee status, whatever you want to call it in Canada, if it is not approved, then you are issued a removal order almost immediately. So it's one or two things. It's either you are approved and become a permanent resident, or you are deported back to your home country. Now in their part, in the persons in the video particular situation, they were instructed to leave Canada. They were fighting it. Ultimately they lost and they had to leave Canada. To my understanding, I'm not sure if there was anything else that they did that allowed them to stay in Canada the last time I was following the story. So if you're gonna be filing refugee status here in Canada, know that it's a risk, because if your application is refused, then you face the risk of being deported immediately back to your home country. That's just one of the side effects. Risk and reward, I guess. Some people might still go ahead and do the application because you know what? It's the only option they get. But what if you came to Canada as an international student, or you came as a temporary foreign worker, or you even landed as a permanent resident? You went through the processes, you're in Canada for a number of years. Can you still be deported? The answer is yes. And that's one of the reasons why any immigration or any legitimate immigration consultant will tell you that as soon as you're eligible for citizenship, please go ahead and apply for citizenship, because it's less likely for you to be deported as a citizen unless your citizenship is revoked or has been revoked, whilst as a permanent resident you can be deported underneath a number of different circumstances. One of those circumstances that you might be deported as a permanent resident is if you commit crime in the people country. Now, it depends on the severity of the crime, you may be deported, right? You may be deported. Now, that's a big deal because, you know, sometimes people end up in situations that they don't even plan for, kind of thing. But if you are deemed to commit any kind of violent crime and a number of different crimes as well, then you run the risk of being deported from Canada. The other circumstances that you can be deported as a permanent resident is misrepresentation. If it is that you use false document, false name, hide criminal charges, any kind of false misrepresentation on your previous documentation, even if you came here as a visitor or you came here as an international student, you went through the processes, you get your permanent residency, but then it was identified that, hey, you know what? When you were applying for your work permit, you said you were working within an organization and you never worked there. You used a false document. You fortified the document to say you were working there when you never really did work there. And then they find out that you told a lie or whatever the case may be, misrepresentation, your permanent residency can be revoked or you can be removed from Canada. Case in point, last year, I think it was last year, probably might have been the year before, we're in 2025, there were over 700 international students who were deported from Canada because it was identified that they used false acceptance letter to get into the colleges, even though many of them didn't know because they just really used an agent. Typical, many people who want to migrate, they just pay an agent or a consultant to do everything. So they paid an agent, the agent fortified documents, all of these things, they got their approval, they came in Canada, and then it was identified that all of the documents them fake. So all of those persons were then grouped up and deported, right? So it's very important not to use false documents or to create misrepresentation, because even when you become a permanent resident, you are still not exempt from deportation. So do things the right way, kind of thing. Now, the other way you can be deported as a permanent resident is, as a permanent resident, there's a thing that's called 2 in 3, which means that you have to be in Canada at least 2 years in the past 3 years, all right, in order to maintain your status as a permanent resident. If it is that you are not in Canada for at least 2 years out of the past 3 years, then you run the risk of losing your permanent residency status, right? So for citizenship, there's not a requirement for you to be in Canada after you become a citizen. But as a permanent resident, it is a requirement for you to be in Canada physically at least 2 out of 3 years, right? 2 in 3 it's called. So as soon as you can go and get your citizenship, it's usually advised that you go and get it. One, because you can be deported still, even as a citizen, but it's not necessarily based on criminal convictions, but more so if it is that your citizenship is revoked. Again, if it's found that you'd use misrepresentation to obtain citizenship, they can take it back from you, revoke that citizenship from you, and then deport it back to your own country, kind of thing, right? So bottom line is, as soon as you can, as a permanent resident, go and get a citizenship. Now, a lot of persons live for years as a permanent resident in Canada, and it's never been an issue. But you want the peace of mind to know that you are fully covered in case of any little thing that might can go on. You know that, okay, then the chances are, unless your citizenship is revoked because of misrepresentation or whatever, then you're not going to be deported back to your home country. But even as a permanent resident, and a lot of permanent residents sit down and then get comfortable with the PR card and then don't go out and get their citizenship done, and then in the future something happen and then they're deported. Also remember that immigration is always changing. So the requirements to become a citizen might change by the time you're ready to apply for the citizenship. So as things are, go and do it and get it out of the way as soon as possible. You understand what I'm saying, guys? So that's what I want to share with you guys. It is possible for you guys to get deported from Canada as a permanent resident. Now, I wanted to do this video because there's a whole lot of immigration thing going on in the world right now. Not just in Canada, also in the States. You know, mass clampdown on immigration. And it's good to know the do's, the don'ts, and where you stand as an immigrant, right? It's good to know where you stand. And that's why we're here, to share the information as best as possible. If you guys like the information that's being provided, let me know by liking the video. If you want to know more about these topics, please let me know in the comment section. and subscribe to the channel. We are on the road to 20,000 subscribers. But guess what, guys? We cannot do it without you guys. The boss come closer, okay? We cannot do it without you guys. So if you guys have been watching our videos and you are not yet subscribed, what are you waiting on? I probably don't find a video yet that causes you to want to subscribe, but if you stick around, I promise you guys that we will find that video. And if you guys are new here, don't even think twice. Just hit that subscribe button right down below before you leave. It takes a second, but it makes a big difference for me and my family, right? I'll end this video right here, right now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Coming to you live from the streets of Grand Prairie, and I will see you guys in the next video.